No, Chelsea Jones.
All right, welcome everyone to the Study Prep Guys Csec. It is nice to be back with everyone. So welcome back, Yang. How are you doing tonight? We'll be continuing on the complete course as I stated in my channel objective over and over again, redundantly. We do plan to finish off every year as it regates back to all subject areas. So we will continue to that end. So hopefully everyone is doing all right out there.
Me why here, me why here, me why here. Back on.
So let me just put this over there. We're working on very old years, so I just want to get that out there. This is 2014. I don't know. I highly doubt it, but I don't think they will bring back anything major for studies at least for the year 2014. But we'll still do it because, as stated, we do plan to complete every year as it regards every subject area. So it's nice to be back with everyone. How are you doing tonight? Should I just wait a couple of minutes for this thing to load? We could start back as well. Let me just make sure the lighting is all right. Nah, that's a bit too much. That will work. Anyways, guys, I finally got back my glasses and my hair is finally growing back, I think, again. Anyways, it has loaded there now, so hopefully everyone could see on the screen. This is the CSEC Social Studies paper one for 2014. We'll mainly be focusing on May June, at least for this video. I do both May June and on January. And honestly, it's kind of hard to keep track because I have so many subject areas to go through. I have so many topics to go through, guys. So I won't be running out of contents for years to come, honestly. But I do plan to complete at least as much past papers in every subject area, at least from the subject areas that I teach. I do plan to complete all of those years under those categories. So it is nice to be back with you guys, and I do pray that you subscribe to this guys CSEC. Let us try to reach at least 1,000 subscribers at the end of this year. So with that said, let me stop yapping and let's start actually answering questions. So it says here, which of the following statement best describes a conjugal family? Offspring have become adults and have left the home. One or both parents may be absent from the home. The answer for this here would be C. A conjugal family is what you would think of in your typical family structure. A conjugal, the term conjugal means joined together. So if you go up to someone and you say that you're very conjunctive or you're very conjugal, it means that your family is united. This is what you would consider to be your typical nuclear family dynamics, wherein everyone is at home and you have both bilateral parents, both male and female, in the household. It does the definition of what a family is have drastically changed throughout the ages. Back probably in prehistoric times, I would probably say in the early 80s and 90s, a family was described as a group of persons, mainly a father and a mother, and blood related children. But now, as we go on into the 20th century, and issues like poverty um, and trafficking have resulted in a lot of parents just giving their children to orphanage due to situations arising. And due to that fact, the entire definition of what a family is changed. So whenever you're going to put a definition of what a family is, include adoption. A family is formed through a male, female. They don't necessarily have to be related by blood. They could be related by adoption. So secondly, the process by which a child learns how to behave, that is known as socialization. This socialization mainly occurs in two ways. The first way socialization does occur is through societal exposure, right? So you're exposed to society and you see what society is like. But socialization is brought about by the parental skills of the parents. The children sees what their mother and father are doing and they follow that same principle. And this is where a lot of issues usually does arise. If you have bad parents and your parents are arguing and fighting against or with each other, the child will usually mimic those characteristics. That's why good parenting and parental planning is also necessary. So you could take that into account. Where are we now? We're question three. Which of the following factors can help to improve marital relationships? Cooperation between married partners, respect for the views of spouses, opportunities to pursue goals. The best answer in this case would be cooperation. Cooperation between both parties that will make the whole parental process extremely easy. It will reduce that suffrage of hardships and difficulties in its total senses. Where are we now at? Question four. No, why? Question four or five? Let's see. Oh, well. So it says here, items four is based on the following statement. It says here, John, Simon, and Harry are cousins who live in the same house, which the following terms best describes their relationships. This says Simon, they're cousins, so they are not peers because peers are like, for example, if you're in a friend group, you could call those guys or you could call those ladies or what's not your peers because they are around the same age and you think in the same mental capacity. And usually, when you are around your peers, when we are referring to peers, refer to mainly three terms. We're referring to people them at or at least individuals around the same age who share similar interests and you're usually within the same group. Those are peers. You're not blood related. What are siblings now? Siblings are direct relations. Like for example, your brother is a sibling, your sister is a sibling. Those are direct correlated individuals. Um, contemporaries are also are also referred as acquaintances. Acquaintances, colleagues, those are contemporaries. People that you usually see when you go into the workplace. People that you don't necessarily know that much, but you still work with them because it's an obligated duty. So in this case, they are relatives because they're the second or they're from your second correlation. So they would be considered your relatives. So where are we now? Question five. So it says here, some adolescents challenge the views and attitudes of adults. Such a situation is a characteristic that would be the generational gap. And this is a repeat question. This question does repeat a lot. I will tell you in the comments below what exact year that this question, the same question here at number five repeats a lot. So there's usually a trend that you would usually see in CSEC. So once you could get that trend at least in line, you will have a basic idea of how everything goes, right? Because every subject area usually I won't always have a trend. Usually subject areas the question does repeat more than other subject areas. So where are we now? We're question six. Which of the following would most likely result from women working outside the home? Improved standard of living, higher self-esteem for women, and decline in family values. It will only be I and I. So I and I. A lot of you three. I'll tell you why I does not fit the category, right? Usually, what does occur when women start working outside the home, the issue that usually arises is what we consider to be marginalization. Marginalization now is the decentralization of a man from a once central position to a decentralized position, or a disposition, to say in simplest of terms. So whenever we look at society, whenever we look at women having the same rights as men, it actually puts a man at a decentralized position, because usually since the beginning of time, honestly, a man had one central disposition. That disposition was to provide for the house. However, as society is changing and women start working, a man feels decentralized. He feels like his position is being taken. And that is where marginalization occurs. It does not affect the whole family unilaterally, it affects the man alone. It does not affect the children, it does not affect anyone else. It affects the man. So there won't be a decline in family values. However, there will be decentralization of a man from a once central position to a decentralized position. This is where most domestic issues usually lies, because a woman want to be independent and the guy is saying that no, you cannot be independent because this is my position, I need to provide. And the societal conflict, or the societal expectation that is placed on a man really kicks in when those domestic issues comes into play. So with that said, let's move on to question 7. So which of the following is likely to be the least important to a man and woman who are planning to start a family? Social status, stable relationship. The thing would be social status, because in a disposition, how people or how societies views you would be irrelevant, because it won't affect you in any way. So which of the following best explains the promotion of family planning in the Caribbean? To teach parents to supervise activities of their children? No. To ensure a balance in members between male and female, to allow pairs to have sexual, to give parents control of their numbers. So the best answer in this case would be D. So that's it for that. We already know. Hang on. Anyways, I have recently heard, at least in a few of my groups, that a lot of you guys are asking, why am I preparing or making videos as it relates to CSEC 2026 so early on in the year? I have started relatively early because it makes my work easier, right? I do have a lot of personal goals as it relates to the overall channel, right? If you look in the channel bio, I did say that I want to complete all the years. So regardless of how either CSEC is right now, or regardless of what CSEC is next year, I still do have a lot of personal things to do as it relates to the channel. I do want to create more human and social biology. I do want to create audiobooks so you guys could literally sleep and listen to it. So you guys could have the best experience even while you're sleeping and relaxing. Because what happens majority of the times is that CSEC is a disposition. I don't want to make any, I want to make education as learnable and as simplistic as possible. So we're at question 9 now. Which of the following would undermine the authority of parents at home? Inconsistency in rewarding and punishing children. This here is another repeat question, so if you see this one, is definitely B. Which of the following is the least likely to effect, or least likely effect of drug abuse on family life by one or both parents? That would be B. A foster parent is one who adopts a child legally, works in a child's home, take care of the child for a state. So that would have been the, or 12. I won't complete the entire paper. Um, Later I'll make a compilation video. This is only the first segment, so um, we'll complete up to question 30 for 2014, and then we'll complete the remaining 30 questions in another batch. Let me just want you to skip these questions quick now because I don't want to so long. Which of the following is not a way by which traditional customs are kept alive in the Caribbean? Our tribes compile local oral history. Villagers organizing folk festivals, family practicing ancestral dances regularly. Government supporting senior citizens' homes. That would be D. That makes sense. Here we know. In Sisters of the Caribbean, people arrive in the Caribbean. That would be the Amerindians. So I just put that right there. So I African, and then the East. So that would go in that order. So first, the Amerindians arrived first, then the Europeans, then the Africans, which were brought about by the slavery, and then the East Indians. So let's go into question 14. So courtship prior to marriage in the Caribbean is a custom handed down by ancestors European. So which of the following terms describes a group of Boy Scouts? So it is something that usually, so first of all, let's look at some of the characteristics of Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts usually wear same badges, so that's a formal, and it's voluntary. It's not involuntary because they don't force you. So it's formal and voluntary. So which of the following best characterizes a primary group? Face-to-face interaction, right? So wait, let me just take that out. A common name or title. Usually, whenever you hear of like if you were to look at it, um, a primary group would be like your family, right? These are people that you wake up to see every day. These are your brothers. These are your sisters. That's what formal groups are in a nutshell. These are basically your family members. So we're 17. Democratic control and open membership are features of a that would be a cooperative society. So it says here, items 8 and 4 to the following table, which gives marriage and divorce data for country X. Which of the following statements is true? So number of marriages and divorce increased over the period 1996 to 1990. Yeah, I don't need to read. I don't need to read the rest. The answer is immediately A. And if you want to have a little bit of explanation why I pick A, if you were to zoom in a bit and look at it, the amount of divorce rates as we go across the board generally increases. If you guys have anything else different, tell me in the comment below. I am willing to argue, but only in the comments. So please be respectful and try to state your reason and why you believe it is the correct answer. We do know how the channel usually goes. So, and this is an issue that I have a lot of times with um my audience. So if you're going to disagree on something, be logical and be reasonable, because when you state something, when you give a reason behind it, it helps other people in the comments below also, and it helps me because I could literally listen to your reason and say, yes, this guy's reason is better than mine, and then I could probably put in the correct answer, right? So just don't state I am wrong. It is a very illogical way of approaching something, and it's very instantical also. Sorry, question 18. We spent at least 2 minutes per question. So I believe that's a good piece. Refer to the following dialogue. Item 1920, refer to the following dialogue. The leadership style of Marvin as described in the dialogue above. So where is Marvin? When Marvin was group leader, he was always ordering us votes. That would be an autocratic or a dictatorship. Um, we usually refer to autocratic. There's a lot of terms, but usually no one likes an autocratic leader, at least from my point of view. Because autocratic leader is someone that when you say, sir, can I please go to the washroom? He would say like, no. Anyways, that would be for 19. We already know where question 20. Paul's statements indicates that he prefers a leadership with a calm, democratic. So I prefer a leader who always allows members to do as they no. All right, back that would be a laissez-faire. A laissez-faire, at least in the Caribbean tongue, is also known as a lazy leader because there's someone that generally allows you to do what you want. They don't really take any interest in what you're like doing. So 21. Which of the following is not a role of trade unions? The right to vote in election is known as that would be constituency because it's something that is recognized or something that is within the constitution. So that would be a constituency, meaning that it does not change and no laws or no actions in parliament could change a constituency or constituency. Sorry for that. Just trying to make sure my pronunciation is all right. But we know question 23. Caribbean countries where the Queen and of England is the head of state may be described as monarchies. Or we know 24. In the English-speaking Caribbean, the fourth court of hearing for criminal offenses is usually the magistrate's court. Becca, Becca sleeping? Becker, Rebecca, Lisa, the fourth, the court for like minor offenses or the fourth court you got to is the magistrate's court. Just making sure. In a constitutional monarchy, the political leader of the victorious party becomes the prime minister. So that would be here. So we're at 26. We're already close enough, guys. We only have five or I think it's four more questions to answer. The role of the opposition in parliament can best be described as inciting civil disobedience, rejecting policies which the ruling party proposes. So if you're, yes, that would be the best answer. Which of the following best describes the function of a government which follows the Westminster model? It rules the nation entirely by decree. It makes laws but cannot makes laws, interprets them and enforce them. So that would be C. Which of the following is not included in the written constitution of a country? Methods of taxation. The document which outlines the framework in which laws are made and which prescribes the relation between the people and the state is the referendum. Yes, that would be. And then we're on to our last question, which is question 30. If you guys like videos like this and you want more related to Csec, tell me in the comments below. So an individual may be deprived of his fundamental rights constitutionally if the head of state has resigned, the cabinet has been reshuffled, a state of emergency has been declared. So the answer for this here would be D. And the reason for this is like, for example, right? Um, we have heard. So I will just go off topic for a bit. We have heard of recent wars. For example, the war in Ukraine, the war in Russia, the war in the Middle East. We have heard of recent wars. So as it relates to those issues, as it relates to those fundamental issues in general. So in the case that, for example, let's look at a nuclear weapon, or let's look at bombs dropping, right? You will have rights, right? Those rights will not be taken to that level. So if the country is being invaded, you will have to, like, if you're if, like, for example, you're a male and you're probably within the year, if you're 18, you will probably have to go to war. You won't really have a right. You won't really have a choice. So if there is an emergency, an international or a state emergency, like for example with a war, with like bombing your territory and bombing your country, you will not have a choice. You will probably have to go to war. You'll probably have to do certain things. So in the case that your country is going through a big war, you won't have those fundamental rights. I said before, like for example, the case in Ukraine, every guy or every male around the ages of 18 had to go to war. They didn't have the fundamental choice. So with that said, I won't want to make this video any more longer. Anyways, guys, see you at the next video. We will be answering the next 30 questions for 2014 in the next video. And with that said, guys, see you at the next video.